Shalom, Mishpaka. Shalom to Ephraim. Shalom to Yahudah. Shalom to the companion who has been engrafted to us, who has come out of paganism, who has come out of the nations, who have come out of these pagan circes and churches, and who have come out of other pagan organizations and other pagan religions, whose eyes have been opened, and the scales have been removed from your eyes, the deafness from your ears, the stiffness from your neck and the hardness from your heart. And you now see, you are now able to see the true light of Torah and how it guides and leads in all Zedekah and all righteousness. And you have been engrafted into the house of Yasharal, the Bayif of Yasharal, whereby now you are an adopted son, no different than the native born. You are in fact a Yashralite, and you are now privy to the same covenants of promise and inheritance that was given to Yasharal and to Yasharal alone. Shalom. Shalom to you worldwide on this Yom. Shalom to you worldwide on this Yom. MatithYahu, the 5th chapter, 13th verse through the 16th verse. That is Matthew, the 5th chapter, the 13th verse through the 16th verse. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt becomes tasteless, how shall it be seasoned? For it is no longer of any use but to be thrown out and to be trodden down by men. You are the light of the world. It is impossible for a city to be hidden on a mountain, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it shines to all those in the house. Let your light so shine before men, so that they see your good works and praise your Father who is in the Shamayim. Who is in the Shamayim. I want to talk to you today, Mishpaka, about salt and light. About salt and light. What exactly is salt? And what exactly is light? Ironically, immediately following this proclamation by Yahusha with regards to salt and light, he exclaims in the following verses, verse 17 through 20, do not think that I came to destroy the Torah or the Nabiim. I did not come to destroy, but to complete. For truly, I say to you, till the Shamayim and the Arets pass away, one yard or one tittle shall by no means pass from the Torah till all be done. Whoever then breaks one of the least of these commands and teaches men so, shall be called least in the reign of the Shamayim. But whoever does and teaches them, he shall be called great in the reign of the Shamayim. For I say to you that unless your righteousness, your Zedekah, exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you shall by no means enter the reign of the Shamayim. Again, what is salt and what is light? And what does it have to do with Yahusha not coming to abolish Torah? And what does it have to do with Zedekah, with righteousness? Well, let's first look at salt. Let's first gain an understanding of what salt is. In Uyiqara, or Leviticus, the 2nd chapter, the 11th through the 12th verse, it reads, beginning at verse 11, no grain offering which you bring to Yahuwah is made with leaven and or sin. For you do not burn any leaven, or leaven being representative of sin. For you do not burn any leaven or any honey in an offering to Yahuwah made by fire. Bring them to Yahuwah as an offering of the firstfruits. But they are not burned on the altar, for its sweet fragrance. Verse 13, listen very carefully. And season with salt every offering of your grain offering, and do not allow the salt of the covenant of your Elohim to be lacking from your grain offering. With all your offerings, bring salt. So here we gain an understanding that salt is the salt of the covenant. The salt of the covenant. This is what salt is. Yahushua exclaims that we are the salt of the earth. That we are the salt of the earth. The salt being the salt of the covenant. What is light? What is light? In accordance with Mashal of Proverbs, the 6th chapter, the 23rd verse, for the command is a lamp, and the Torah a light, and reproofs of discipline a way of life. So by this we gain an understanding that Torah is light. That Torah is light. Torah is also the word. It is also the word. I'm not going to address that in this video, but if you're a Yasharal listening to this video, then you already understand that Torah is the word. They are one and the same. They are synonymous. They are one and the same. So when Daud exclaims, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light unto my path, he is speaking about Torah. He is speaking about Torah. The same Torah that was ordained for him in Dabarim. It was exclaimed and commanded through Musha to all the sovereigns who would be sovereign of Yasharal, that they were to write a copy of the Torah that the Kohanim, or what the world calls priests, were in possession of. They would write their very own copy, and they were to meditate on that copy of the Torah that they that they had written for themselves, both day and night. And so when Daud exclaims that your word, Yahuwah, is a lamp into my feet and a light into my path, he is speaking about Torah. He is speaking about Torah. Torah is a light. Is a light. So then what is righteousness? What is righteousness? In accordance with Dabarim, the 6th chapter, the 24th verse through the 25th verse, that is Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter, the 24th verse through the 25th verse, and Yahuwah commanded us to do these laws, to fear Yahuwah our Elohim, for our good always, to keep us alive as it is today. And it is righteousness for us when we guard to do all this command before Yahuwah our Elohim, as he has commanded us. As he has commanded us. So by this we understand that our righteousness, that righteousness is Torah. That righteousness is Torah. So then what is meant by exceeding the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees? What is meant by, what does Yahushua mean by exclaiming that if our righteousness does not exceed the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees, that we will by no means enter the reign of Shamayim? What does he mean by this? What does he mean? In MatithYahu, or Matthew, the 15th chapter, verse 1 through 9, it reads, Then there came to Yahushua scribes and Pharisees from Jerusalem, saying, Why do your taught ones transgress, listen carefully, the tradition of the elders? The tradition, the operative word is tradition, the tradition of the elders. For they do not wash their hands when they eat bread. But he answering said to them, Why do you also transgress, listen, the command of Elohim because of your tradition? For Elohim has commanded, saying, Respect your father and your mother, and he who curses father or mother, let him be put to death. But you say, Whoever says to his father or mother, Whatever profit you might have reached from me has been dedicated, is certainly released from respecting his father or mother. So you have nullified the command of Elohim by your tradition. Hypocrites. YAHUAH'S rightly nabah about you, saying, This people draw near to me with their mouth and respect me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain do they worship me, teaching as teachings, listen, the commands of men. They didn't keep Torah. They didn't keep Torah. Torah is our righteousness. It is righteousness for us. They didn't keep Torah. Instead, they placed their wicked religious Talmud, and some of the rabbinical Jews still do this to this day. In fact, rabbinical Judaism is the religion of the Pharisees. Don't get that confused. If you who are listening are of the nations, don't get rabbinical Judaism confused with the way of Yah, with the way of Yah, with the way of the Nazarim. Do not get that confused. They placed their wicked Talmud, which is the traditions of men, above the Torah of Yah. And they still do this today. Again, rabbinical Judaism is the religion of the Pharisees. It is the religion of the Pharisees. It has survived. It is the religion of the Pharisees. And so still to this day, they place their Talmud above the Torah of Yah. Torah is righteousness for us if we are careful to obey it. Not that we are righteous, or that our obedience in and of itself makes us righteous, but that Yahuwah considers us righteous when we aspire to obey him with all of our heart, with all of our mind, and with all of our strength. Yahuwah Zedekinu, which means Yahuwah is our righteousness. But he covers us with his Zedekah, with his righteousness, which is Torah. He is Torah. He is the word. He is light. It is his very character. And he considers us righteous when we aspire to obey his righteous Torah and assume his character through obedience to it. Through obedience to it. But what does all of this have to do with being salt and light? What does all of this have to do with being salt and light? In Tehillim, or Psalms 110, we read, Yahuwah said to my master, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet. Yahuwah sends your mighty scepter out of Zion. Rule in the midst of your enemies. Your people volunteer in the yam of your might. and the splendors of set apartness. From the womb, from the morning, you have the dew of your youth. Yahuwah has sworn and does not relent. You are a Hohin forever, what the world calls priest. You are a Hohin forever, according to the order of Melchizedek, which means my sovereign is Zadek, my sovereign is righteous. Yahuwah at your right hand shall smite sovereigns in the yam of his wrath. He judges among the nations. He shall fill the nations with dead bodies. He shall crush the head over the mighty Arets. He drinks of the stream by the wayside. Therefore, he does not lift up the head. Therefore, he does not lift up the head. In Maqos, Mark, the 9th chapter, verse 49 through 50, it reads, For everyone shall be seasoned with fire, and every offering shall be seasoned with salt. Salt is good, but if salt becomes tasteless, how shall you season it? Have salt in yourselves, and be at shalom among one another. Again, for everyone shall be seasoned with fire, and every offering shall be seasoned with salt. Salt is good, but if the salt becomes tasteless, how shall you season it? Have salt in yourselves, and be at shalom with one another. And be at shalom with one another. Again, in Uyiqara, Leviticus, the 2nd chapter, verse 11 through 12, we read, No grain offering which you bring to Yahuwah is made with leaven. For you do not burn any leaven or any honey in an offering to Yahuwah made by fire. Bring them to Yahuwah as an offering of the first fruits, but they are not burned on the altar for a sweet fragrance. And season with salt every offering of your grain offering, and season with salt every offering of your grain offering, and do not allow the salt of the covenant of your Elohim to be lacking from your grain offering. With all your offerings bring salt. So we understand there that before the Kohen Gadol, or what the world calls high priest, could offer anything to Yahuwah, he, the Kohen Gadol, had to season it with the salt of the covenant, so that it ascended to the Shamayim as a sweet smelling aroma to Yahuwah, Thus we read in Mark, the 9th chapter, verse 49 through 50, For everyone shall be seasoned with fire, and every offering shall be seasoned with salt, with the salt of the covenant. Salt is good, but if the salt becomes tasteless, how shall you season it? Have salt in yourselves, and be at shalom with one another. Yasharal. We are a nation of Kohanim, what the world calls priests, in the order of Melchizedek. Yahushua HaMashiach is our Kohen Gadol. And as Kohen in the order of Melchizedek, we possess the salt of the covenant. We possess the salt of the covenant. We have been placed among the nations as keepers of the salt of the covenant. We demonstrate this by keeping covenant with our Elohim. We keep covenant with our Elohim by obeying the words of the covenant, the 10 Dabarim, the 10 words, which are a summary of the whole of Torah. If we are not keeping covenant with Yah and are keeping and are obeying the words of the covenant, then the salt of the covenant has lost its flavor in us. It has lost its flavor in us because we are not keeping covenant with him, because we are not obeying the words of the covenant. The salt is of ill effect. It is of ill effect. It has lost its flavor. It has lost its flavor. We are supposed to be lights to the nations, living Torahs. We are supposed to be examples and set apartness to them, to show them what it tangibly looks like to be set apart to the Most High Yah. This example was established for us through the Luim Kihunah, what the world calls the Levitical priesthood. This was one of its purposes, to be examples and set apartness to a nation of Kohen, to show them, to show our ancestors what it looked like to be set apart to the Most High Yah. Every offering that the Kohen Gadol made had to be salted with the salt of the covenant. Each offering was a representation of our people. Likewise, when we lead others to be immersed in the true Shem of Yahusha as Kohen in the order of Melchizedek, we then are offering up a slaughter to Yahuwah. When we dip, when we undergo the Tabbalah, when we dip underneath the water, we die, and we are buried with Yahushua HaMashiach. We are buried and we die and we are buried with Yahushua HaMashiach when we dip underneath the water. And thus, when we die, and when those we lead to be immersed in the true Shem of Yahusha, when they die, they are in turn salted with the salt of the covenant, which then that offering arises to the Shamayim as a sweet smelling aroma and to the nostrils of Yahuwah. Through us, Yahusha, our Kohen Gadol, seasons the offering, the slaughter, with the salt of the covenant, so that it rises as a sweet smelling aroma to Yahuwah, and so that we offer up offerings of obedience and are produce good fruit. We must remain in covenant with him in order to possess the salt of the covenant. We must remain in covenant with him in order to possess the salt of the covenant. If we are not obedient to the words of the covenant, then we are not in covenant with him, and our salt, the salt, has become useless. It has become useless. So we remain in covenant with him in order to possess the salt of the covenant, thus being light and are living Torahs and examples in set apartness to the nations. This is our purpose. This is our purpose. We have been scattered to the four corners of the earth. We have been placed amongst the nations to be salt and to be light, to be bearers of the salt of the covenant, to present acceptable offerings to Yahusha when they are immersed in his set-apart name, when they die, thus being salted with the salt of the covenant. We are placed here to be living Torahs, to be living lights, to be examples and set apartness, to be a royal nation, to be a set apart kihuna, to show them what it tangibly looks like to be set apart to the Most High Yah. But if we remain bickering amongst each other over silly genealogies, Yasharal, then we are missing the mark. We are missing the mark. We again are a chosen nation, a royal kihuna. And again, we have been placed amongst the nations to be salt and light. We bear the salt of the covenant. We have the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach. And we have been given the assignment to call the nations out of darkness into the marvelous light of Yahuwah. We carry the true Besorah, the true good news, and that is through Yahushua, the stone laid in Zion, whom the whole house of Yasharal, both Yahudah and Ephraim, is built upon, who is the chief cornerstone that completes the building or house of Yasharal. The good news is that the nations can also engraft into us. This is the Besorah. This is the good news that the nations through Yahushua HaMashiach can engraft into us and become adopted sons and co-heirs to the covenants, the promise, and the inheritance that was given to Yasharal alone. That was given to Yasharal alone. Stay the course, Yasharal. Be salt and light. Be salt and light. Put away the bickering of silly genealogies. Be a set apart example. Be an example and set apartness to the nations to show them what it looks like to be set apart to the Most High Yah. Be bearers of the salt of the covenant, so that when they are immersed in the true Shem of Yahushua, they are being salted with the salt of the covenant, so that when they die, that offering ascends to the Shamayim as a sweet-smelling aroma in the nostrils of Yahuwah. Of Yahuwah. Some of you are suffering attacks on this Yom, both physically and spiritually. Both physically and spiritually. But remember this, Yasharal. A thief only attempts to rob a vault with something of value in it. If there is nothing of value in it, then he won't even waste his time. Our adversary, Hashatan, is the thief, and he only comes to steal, to kill, and destroy. But our Adonai, Yahushua, came to give life and to give it everlasting. Hold on to his hand, Yasharal, as he will not let go of yours. Stay the course. Stay the course. Be salt and light. Be bearers of the salt of the covenant. Be living Torahs. Carry the light of Torah. Be set apart examples, as we are a chosen nation, a royal kihuna, who has been set in the nations to draw them out of darkness into the marvelous light of Yahuwah, his Torah. His Torah. Stay the course. Stay the course, Yasharal. Stay the course. Be encouraged on this Yom and stay the course. Bear the salt of the covenant and carry the light of Torah. Be set apart examples to the nations as Kohen. As Kohen. To the nations who are under the sound of my voice, be immersed in the true name of Yahushua, whereby satisfying the penalty of Torah, which is death. Do not undergo a pagan baptismal, but undergo the Tabbalah, the root being tabal, meaning to dip. To dip. Baptismal is pagan, which is the going backwards. It is pagan. The Tabbalah means a dipping up and down where no hands touch you. Among our people, the father is the first to touch a child when it is born. When you undergo the Tabbalah, when you are dipped in the name of Yahushua, no hands touch you. When you arise to the newness of life, the first hands to touch you are the hands of Abba, Yahuwah, of Abba, Yahuwah. And through the immersion, be cleansed from your filth. Be cleansed from your menstrual cycle. Be cleansed from your leprosy. Be cleansed from your running sores. Be cleansed from touching the dead things of Babylon, and be invited back into the camp, which before you were excluded from entering because of your uncleanness. But now be invited through the immersion in the name of Yahushua. Be invited back into the camp of Yasharal, whereby now being privy to the same covenants of promise and inheritance that were given to Yasharal alone, receive the immersion of the Ruach HaKodesh. For without no one will enter the reign of the Shamayim, whereby receiving the Father's DNA and true sonship, whereby receiving a circumcised heart, whereby receiving a love for Torah and a willingness to obey it. Walk in the true light of Torah and have fellowship with him, and have fellowship with us. To the nations and to Yasharal, to the nations who engraft, and to Yasharal, both Yehudah and Ephraim, and the companion who has engrafted into us. Be salt and light. Bear the salt, carry the salt of the covenant as Kohanim in the order of Melchizedek, so that when others are immersed and they die as an offering, that we bear the salt of the covenant, so that the offering ascends to the Shamayim as a sweet-smelling aroma. Be light, bear the light of Torah, be living Torahs, which has been written upon our hearts. Be living Torahs and examples and set apartness to the nations, which is the purpose for which we have been scattered to do. I bid you shalom, shalom, and Amen.